All right, everyone, hello and welcome. Today, we are decoding the latest WTO Global Trade Outlook. Now, if you're an exam aspirant, you know this is a big one, so we're going to break down everything you absolutely need to know. Okay, let's dive right into the central mystery of this whole report. It's a real paradox. For 2025, the WTO is actually feeling more optimistic. They've bumped up the growth forecast to 2.4%. But then, look at 2026. They've slashed it, way down to just 0.5%. So things look pretty good right now, but the future, not so much. The big question is, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. What could possibly explain such a massive swing? To get to the bottom of it, we really need to dig into the details, unpack the key drivers, and, the warnings that are kind of hidden inside the WTO's analysis.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the mixed picture for 2025. Then we'll get into the real engine of growth, which is, surprisingly, AI. After that, we'll quickly compare goods versus services trade. And then we'll untangle this thing called the trade imbalance puzzle. And of course, we'll finish with the most important part for you guys, the key exam takeaways.
Okay, first up, let's talk about 2025. Why was the first half of the year so unexpectedly strong? What's behind that big upgrade?
Well, a huge reason was something called front-loading. And listen up, this is a key word you absolutely have to remember for your exams. Front-loading. It's basically what happened when companies in North America started rushing to import goods because they knew tariff hikes were coming.
Think about it. It's pretty simple, right? If you know the price of something is about to go up, you buy as much as you can now. That's all front-loading is. But what it did was create this, well, temporary and kind of artificial boom in trade just because businesses were stocking up before the new rules hit.
So if we boil it down, that 2025 surge really had three main drivers. And for your exam prep, here's a super easy way to remember them. Just think of the word FAM. F is for that front-loading we just talked about. A is for the AI-related demand surge. We're going to get to that in a sec. And M is for supportive macroeconomic conditions. Simple, right? FAM.
Okay, now for what I think is the most fascinating piece of this whole puzzle, and that's the absolutely explosive role that artificial intelligence is playing. It's kind of the secret engine driving so much of global trade right now.
Just look at this number, 43%. On its own, it might not look like much, but trust me, this single number tells a huge story about the future of trade. So, what is it?
Get this. AI-related goods, they were responsible for 43% of all merchandise trade growth in the first half of 2025. Let that sink in. These goods are just a tiny slice of the overall trade pie, but they're driving almost half the growth. That is a wild overperformance.
And this chart just shows you that insane impact visually. See that note? AI goods make up only 15% of total trade value, but they're contributing 43% of the growth. It's like a lightweight boxer knocking out a heavyweight. It is absolutely punching above its weight, and it's all because of this global rush to invest in digital infrastructure. So where is all this AI action happening? Well, the report points a giant finger directly at Asia. Asian economies were behind almost 2/3 of this AI trade growth. This really cements the continent's role as the world's high-tech factory for things like chips and electronics. And for India, sitting right in the middle of this, well, that means some massive opportunities, but also some pretty big challenges.
All right, let's zoom out a bit. We've talked a lot about goods, but what about services? How does that side of the story look?
You can see a really clear split here. Merchandise trade, physical goods, it's been on a total roller coaster. But look at commercial services. It's so much more stable, so much more robust. The forecast is for solid growth, around 4.5% for both years. And what's powering that? Mostly digitally delivered services. That stability is a really important trend to keep an eye on.
Okay, time to tackle a really important concept. It can be a bit complex, but it's an absolute classic topic for your mains exam: trade imbalances. And honestly, the WTO report does a fantastic job breaking this down.
Now, if you take away only one thing from this section, let it be this. The WTO is screaming this from the rooftops. A trade imbalance is not a trade issue. It is a macroeconomic issue. It's all about the gap between a country's national savings and its domestic investment. That's the root cause. So the report lays out two ways to deal with this. You've got approach number one, tariffs. The WTO says this is like putting a bandage on a broken bone. It does nothing to fix the actual problem. It just shuffles the deficit around to other countries and ends up being super costly for the economy. Then you have approach number 2, macro policy. This goes straight to the root cause, that savings and investment gap, and can actually fix the imbalance with minimal economic pain.
And this quote from the report just sums it all up perfectly. It says, and I'm quoting here, "Difficulties the origins of which lie outside the trade field cannot be redressed through measures taken in the trade field alone." It's a bit of a mouthful, but the meaning is simple. You can't use trade policy to solve a non-trade problem. That's a golden line you'll want to use in your exam answers for sure. Okay, let's pull all of this together. This next slide is your final revision slide. Everything we've covered boiled down into the absolute must-know points.
So here it is, your key takeaways. First, the headline numbers. 2.4% growth in 2025, but a big drop to 0.5% in 2026. Second, AI is the big driver, accounting for 43% of growth. Third, that key word, front-loading, buying early to beat tariffs. Fourth, the big idea. Trade imbalances are macro issues, not trade issues. And finally, and this is crucial for your papers, India's position in 2024. We are the world's 18th largest merchandise exporter and the 8th largest importer. Make sure you have those numbers down.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. You've got these two massive forces pulling in opposite directions. On one side, you have technology like AI, which is weaving the world together tighter than ever before. On the other, you have policies like tariffs that are trying to build walls and create blocks. So the question for the next decade is, which force wins? How do we manage that tension? That's really the challenge that's going to define the future of global trade.